Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my husband, Riley, who many of you know and love, and we're going to be answering some questions about our Disney Land and Sea vacation that we took about 2 months ago now, right? Yeah, about 2 months ago, about 8 weeks ago. We went to Walt Disney World for a handful of days and stayed at Coronado Springs Resort and had a great time. And then we went ahead and took a transport over to Port Canaveral and we boarded the Disney Dream for a 5-day, 4-night cruise to the Bahamas. And so people in the Disney community and Disney itself calls that a land and sea vacation for obvious reasons. Ever since we took that trip, and I've put up lots of videos and vlogs about that trip, which I will link the playlist. I'm used to not having two people on the screen. I will link it over here. And you can go check it out if you want to watch those vlogs. We vlogged every day of our trip. And I've had lots and lots and lots of questions come in about different aspects. So what I did was I went to Instagram, so I'm going to be looking down at my phone, and I asked for specific questions about our Disney World Land and Sea vacation that we could answer together. One little note that I want to make before we jump in is that I was just about 20 weeks, I think I hit my 20-week pregnancy mark on this trip. So we haven't been like calling it a baby moon, although that's sort of what it was. I mean, we went away on this amazing big trip before our baby girl gets here in October. So that's the story.
I just want to say in preparation for this video, I haven't cut my hair since the trip. So it should be full of all kinds of good knowledge for you.
Okay, so we're gonna have to scroll through here and choose.
Wow.
There are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots, hundreds of questions, which is great. So thank y'all for all of your questions. Okay, the first question, and whenever I'm doing Q&As, if you followed along with my channel, I never say the name of the person. For number one, they might want to be private, and number two, I end up wasting time trying to pronounce. So several people asked about the order of the trip, saying, did you recommend doing land, doing Walt Disney World and then getting on a cruise, or do we wish that we had done it reversed? What do you think?
I liked it this way because, it takes a little bit of time to get into vacation mode for me. So when you go somewhere, it takes you like a day to be like, oh, I'm on vacation now. So that was great because we were definitely on vacation by the time the cruise came around. I was super relaxed, super in a Disney mood, and I would try it the other way, but I think this way is really nice. Yeah,
I think that most people that I know who have done both do it in this order. They do land and then sea. It's probably why people call it a land and sea vacation rather than a sea and land. And usually people's justification is that although Walt Disney World is so much fun, it is very, very exhausting. There's so much walking and there's so much, if you're rope dropping, and some people will do rope drop to fireworks, all that.
That's true. I didn't think about that because it's a lot of walking, and the cruise is not much walking.
No, the cruise is a lot more low-key. And so I really liked this order. I would absolutely do it the other way, but if you have flexibility to do it either, I think doing land and sea is nice in terms of doing kind of the adventure side of Disney and then resting on the cruise for what it's worth.
Yeah, it was great.
We had a lot of people asking us about motion sickness. Did you get motion sick?
No.
Or seasick?
No.
I didn't either. We are fortunate that we just don't experience motion sickness or seasickness.
You just don't feel the boat moving, so.
Yeah, the ship is so huge that I think even people who usually get seasick sometimes don't on a cruise ship because it's so huge. It's not the same as being on a small boat where you feel it rocking. But that's such a personal question. Neither of us experienced seasickness or motion sickness, so that wasn't something that we experienced on this. And even though I was very nauseous in my early pregnancy, my nausea subsided just about a week before we left on this trip. And there were a few moments where I didn't have much of an appetite or something like that, but I didn't experience nausea, seasickness, motion sickness at all. We got several people who asked the same question, which was, did we prefer on the ship Remy or Palo? So if you are unfamiliar with Disney cruising, I recommend that you go and check out my first timers report that I did last year after we did our very first cruise, which was also a Disney cruise. So I will link that above. But on the ship, all of the almost, for all intents and purposes, everything is included. There are extras that you can add on. 2 of those extras are 2 adult-only 18 and over restaurants called Remy and Palo. Remy is more expensive per person than Palo. I don't remember exactly how much Remy costs per person.
$150 for us. I bet it's $150
For both of us?
for each of us.
Okay, so Remy's $150 per person, and it's like I don't remember. I will write it in. I don't remember. But it's very, very elaborate. It's like
a 3-hour, at
12
least
course
meal.
or something. Yeah. Huge. And then Palo is an Italian restaurant, mostly Italian food. And on this cruise, we did both Palo brunch and dinner, and that's $40 per person extra. So people asked us, which one would you do? So on our previous cruise, we only did Remy, and on this cruise, we didn't do Remy, and then with, that kind of money, we did both Palo brunch and Palo dinner. Which one did you prefer?
I'm really glad we did Remy's, because I would always want to see what that's like. Yeah. So I'm glad we've done both, so now I know. But our server at Palo said, he asked us what we liked about Remy, and he was like, Remy's like food from the head, and Palo's food from the heart.
Yeah.
Because it's like much more comfort food, normal, really good food. Remy was like really experimental, funky food. But it was really fun. It was awesome to try Remy out. I loved it a lot. But Palo, I would go back to Palo. I don't think I'd go back to Remy.
I feel the exact same way. We did not discuss this beforehand.
No.
I feel the exact same way. I felt like Palo was definitely more approachable. So if you are more of a picky eater, for sure go with Palo.
Yeah.
For sure. Because Remy is a lot more out there in terms of the flavor profiles and things like that. It's fine French dining, Remy is.
Remy, it was amazing.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
It truly was it's like a 3-hour show and you're in the middle of it. It's amazing. But I totally agree. If we were going to go on another cruise, which we hope to at some point, we would definitely book Palo. I feel like the food was more approachable.
So good. The brunch was just like... It was so good.
It was delicious. And so then people were asking Palo brunch or dinner.
Brunch.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, both. If you had to pick one, though, I'd pick brunch.
Yeah, brunch was pretty unbelievable.
It was everything.
Oh my gosh. It was
and
it was delicious.
It was more like a lunch. I mean, we ate at like 11 or noon, so we were full all day. But they had like the whole caviar set up with like the creme fraiche and the little toasted bread squares and the crab legs and the lobster. Good. Everything you could want.
I would say if you like brunch, I mean, their brunch food, their brunch menu and their brunch, they have like this spread. Calling it a buffet is like, doesn't do it justice for what it is. I vlogged all of this. It was beautiful. But if you like brunchy type of food, you will be very happy at brunch. The dinner though was amazing too. I don't know. Either one, you're not going to be unhappy. They're both delicious.
I mean, yeah, if you have the money, I would do dinner because you would eat at the same cruise restaurants. Like, there's 3 of them.
Right.
So you go to all of them, and then you don't need to go back to those.
Yeah. The rotational dining restaurants are, I would say, solid. And we have had some meals at those rotational dining restaurants that were excellent. And then we've had some that were, I would consider, mediocre.
Go to Palo on Pirate Night.
Yeah, the Pirate Night menu is our least favorite. And that's pretty common. I was reading some forums in the Disney community, and most people very much dislike the Pirate Night menu. Yeah.
Even our servers.
Yeah, our server was like, this is the worst menu on the cruise.
I don't know why.
So the food is not, there's never a time when it was bad.
No.
It's just mediocre, like on Pirate Night, whereas Palo is truly superb.
Yeah.
So those are all of our opinions. These are everything in this video.
In short, go to Remy and go to Palo brunch and dinner.
Try to do it all, but if you have to choose one or the other, it's really a personal preference. Do you prefer more of this like huge grandiose experience where you're eating like really wild flavor combinations and really kind of interesting different things, or would you prefer something that's more familiar and approachable? This one would be Remy, the other would be Palo.
Yeah, well, yeah. And Remy is also in the most beautiful part of the ship.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They both were outrageously delicious in every single way. I've gotten lots and lots of questions about the time of year to go on a cruise. And so if people want to do a land and sea, like when should they do a cruise? To be fair, we have sailed in mid-May and in late May. So we don't have...
That's our... I would say late May.
Late May, our weather was 10 times better than mid-May.
Yeah.
But it's such a luck of the draw type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say that we have a close family friend, and we have your sister, my sister-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
both of which have taken their families with children on Disney cruises, and both went last November. And one of them, I think, had pretty good weather and was able to be out, on the pool decks and things like that. Both were in the Caribbean. And the other one, I don't think they did much swimming at all. I think it was quite chilly.
Yeah.
It's very luck of the draw.
They definitely were kind of sad about the weather.
Yeah.
It was cold.
Yeah, it was quite chilly. So, I would say, like, if you want to do peak season, which is going to be more expensive, but like May, June, July, August, September, you're going to probably have, if you want hot weather, if you're going on a Caribbean cruise, that would probably be the time to go.
Go right before school gets out, if you can.
Yeah. However, if you can only go at another time of year, we would sail on a Disney cruise literally any month of the year.
Yeah.
Any month of the year, because even if the weather's not good, the ship is so unbelievable but if you're looking for beautiful weather and you want to do a tropical cruise, you got to go during the months of the year where the weather is mostly going to be.
Yeah. You're not going to have a bad time.
You're not going to have a bad time. The next question is about booking the trip. Well, this question I received, no kidding, probably 75 to 100 times. How did you book the trip? Did you book the trip yourself or through a travel agent? Do you book them together? How do you link them? How do you arrange transportation? All of that. You're welcome to chime in, but I am the one that did the booking.
Well, there's not like a land and sea button you push on DisneyWorld.com.
There's not.
I would, unless you're like Blair and a really good planner, use a travel agent. They're so good, and they could figure it out all for you.
Exactly what I was going to say. I have never used a travel agent with any of our Disney trips, and I am not completely closed off to it, but planning for me is sincerely 50% of the fun of the trip. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. I love being online and booking things. I love calling Disney and arranging the transportation. I love confirming things. I love making requests. It is like my personality in a nutshell. I would not be surprised if in my lifetime I became a Disney travel agent.
You would be the best.
Oh, that's nice. It is like, I genuinely love it. But I can think of so many people in my life who are such smart, organized people, but they would not have fun doing it. Mm. Get a travel agent in that case. I will link below a travel agency and then another travel agent who I really, really like. The first one would be Prep School Travel, which is through Shannon Albert's WDW Prep School website, which I've talked about a billion times. She is my go-to for all things Disney. She's just phenomenal. And then another one is named Maria from Magical Vacation Planner, and I have followed her on Instagram for a long time. Again, I have never used this travel agency, or I've never booked with Maria, but if I was going to, these would be the two places I would look because they are full of knowledge. They are very competent. It's very clear they know their stuff. So I will link those resources below. I will also link 3 websites just about Disney cruising and Disney World so that you can check those out. And I will link, I have it here on my notes, 3 websites that are specific articles about how to book a land and sea trip. In a nutshell, you want to choose your cruise date first because you can go to Walt Disney World any day of the year, but the cruises only operate in certain periods of time, and they're pretty much all year long, but it's easier to book the cruise first and choose when you're going on the cruise, the length of time, and all of that, and then to book some days in Disney World. Now, you can book it all under one reservation code and number. We did not do this. You can do that if you book your cruise and then you call Disney Cruise Line and say, I'd like to add on a land portion of my trip, and I'd like to add on some days at Walt Disney World. They will then add that. However, there are restrictions. There are certain things like you cannot add on a dining plan if you do it that way, and there are other restrictions like that, so you have to take that into consideration. If you want the full options of Walt Disney World, which we did want, you will need to book 2 separate packages, or your travel agent, which is what I would recommend if this is overwhelming to you. Your travel agent will book 2 separate packages, and he or she will tell you everything you need to know.
I have a question.
Yes.
That I bet everyone else will ask.
Sure.
So you can't add a dining plan if you book it all under one thing.
From the research that I've done online, which I've done a lot of research online the past couple of days in preparation for this video, no. So if you book a Walt Disney World vacation package and a Disney Cruise Line package, and then you book a port transfer and make it like a land and sea trip separately, which is what we did, which is what I did, we had a dining plan. If you call Disney Cruise Line after you book the cruise or when you're booking the cruise and add on some days at Disney World, you cannot. And there are other restrictions as well. I think there's some restrictions with the resorts that you can stay at and things like that. So I would highly recommend that if this does not feel like second nature to you, or if this doesn't feel fun to you, please hire a travel agent. I think it would make your life so much easier.
Yes, they're great.
They are really great. There is no financial advantage to booking a land and sea trip. There are no discounts. There's no financial advantage. You don't get any cut off of anything. So that's as of, late July, by the time this goes up, August 2019, there's no financial advantage. And the final question that I got a lot about was port transfers, or just transportation. We never rent a car in Disney World.
No.
We fly into Orlando Airport. We board the Magical Express, which is free, 100% free. You get on, or I should say included.
Yeah. Ain't free.
Nothing's free, but it's included. So you land in Orlando Airport, you get on the Magical Express, they transport you to your hotel. So for this trip, we were transported to Coronado Springs. Included, no extra cost to us. Before the trip, I had called. This seems so confusing. It's like not it doesn't feel confusing, but I'm just worried about it being confusing.
I know.
Before the trip, I had called and arranged port transfers, and I had told the woman on the phone, I called both Disney Cruise Line and Walt Disney World, and I said, we're doing a land and sea. We're doing a port transfer. It's going to be on this morning. We're going to be staying at Coronado Springs. These are our reservation numbers, and they basically, in their system, linked the two. So on the final morning of our stay at Walt Disney World at Coronado Springs Resort, we got a letter on the bed in our room that said, here's the time that you need to be, ready and packed, and we're going to pick up your luggage. That costs money. The transfer from the Walt Disney World Resort to Port Canaveral is $35 a person one way. So for us to do the whole thing, it's $140 because we were transported to the port, and then we were transported from the port after the cruise to Orlando Airport. All of this will be made easier if you have a travel agent. If you want to do it yourself, basically when you're checking out on a cruise, you can add port transfers, which is what I did. And then I did go ahead and I called both Coronado Springs, the Walt Disney World line on behalf of our stay at Coronado Springs and the Disney Cruise Line. And I made sure that everyone was in the know, and it was completely seamless.
Yeah. Well, there are other people, there are like 4 other families doing the same thing. So obviously, it happens every day.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So that's the story. We also confirmed at check-in when we got to Coronado Springs. Just want to confirm that we are transferring to Port Canaveral on this day. I got so many questions about this.
Does it cost money when you fly to NC Orlando Airport if you're going on just a cruise and you fly to Orlando and you land and they take you to the cruise ship?
Yes.
Does that cost money?
Anytime you're doing a port transfer, it is $35 one way per person.
This is a long drive.
So if you have a bigger family, it would make a lot more sense. It might even make sense to rent a car and have it sitting at the port. Even sometimes if you have a big family, that might make sense. But it would probably make a lot more sense to do Uber, to do Lyft, to arrange transportation with a third-party company rather than spending $70 per person. Yeah. You could probably do, if you have 7 people in your party or 6 people, probably be a lot cheaper to arrange separate transportation. But if you want to do it through Disney and board a Disney Cruise Line bus, that is the cost. It's $70 round trip per person.
You do get to watch a movie.
You do get to. We watched Wreck-It Ralph.
Mm-hmm. 2.
Oh, was it?
No, it was the first one.
It was the first one. The other thing is that you can choose where your port transfer picks you up and drops you off. So we got picked up at our resort. We went to the port. After the cruise, we went from the port directly to the airport. You could go from the port back to a Disney World resort, So you that's like a rookie mistake. So you could go, you could go resort, port, resort. You could go airport. Well, in this case, you'd use Magical Express.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hope I'm making some sense.
Get a travel agent.
Either be someone who's obsessed with planning, or I would say a travel agent would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
On your cruise, could you explain the rotational dining and how that works? Do you want to explain that?
When you board your ship, you get a little card, and it tells you what time you're eating, and you're either eating at 6:15 or 8:30.
30, I think, yeah.
And one of those two. And then it'll tell you which restaurant you're eating at each night, all on your name tag. And you go there the same time every night, and you're going to do one of the well, it depends on how many days you go. If you go for 4 nights, 5 days, you'll eat at one of the restaurants twice, but you'll hit every restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And can you request and get one restaurant twice?
Yes, you can call and request, and I have done that before.
You can call and request that. You can call and request if it's just 2 of you, your own table, so you're not sharing, because otherwise you're going to share. It's worth calling and asking and requesting all kinds of stuff. Closed mouths don't get fed.
They do. Disney has done a great job with every single request that I have ever called and requested. I've requested specific dining rotations just because there's certain restaurants I wanted to go to.
Later, early.
I've requested, you can do, the dining time is something that you do when you're purchasing your package. And I have called and requested for both cruises that we have our own private table. We like people, but I don't want to eat with strangers on my cruise. I know that there are some people watching who are like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite part. That's not our favorite part.
No.
So we don't do that. But if you want to do that, go for it. If you're like us and you would prefer to have a private table, both cruises we called and said, I'd like to request a private table. And both times that was honored.
Yeah. You'll always have the same servers and wait staff that travel with you, restaurant to restaurant and time to time. So you'll have the same staff the whole time, and by the end they pretty much know what to suggest for you to get and what you should try and bring you stuff out, and they know you pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens. That's really, really useful because the restaurants are very different.
Yeah. I really enjoy that. I enjoy getting to know our wait staff and just joking around with them and having fun with them, and then you get to see them every night of your cruise, and they follow you from restaurant to restaurant.
Yeah. Not to Palo, though.
No, not to Palo or Remy. Those are totally different. This is the rotational dining restaurants on the cruise, which are all completely included with the price. The only things, if you were there and you wanted to get an alcoholic beverage or a specialty coffee, those things are extra. But everything else, the whole menu, and you can get as much as you want. So you can order multiple entrees, multiple appetizers.
You can order everything.
Multiple desserts. Lots and lots and lots, 5 dozen questions about budgeting, and the question, is it worth it? It's really hard to answer those questions.
Yeah.
It's completely personal. Each person's priorities are different, budgets are different, things like that. So it's really hard for me to answer whether or not it's worth it. To us, vacations and travel are a very top priority, in our budgeting. And so we make sure to get away, and we are willing to spend money to do it, to do it the way that we enjoy doing it. Mm-hmm. But for some people, other things in life are priorities. We also live in a small town in a part of the country that's very inexpensive, a very low cost of living, and it's a trade-off. Everything in life is a trade-off. So I can't speak to whether it's worth it or not. For us, obviously, we think it's worth it because we love Disney and we love doing it.
Yeah.
But there's no.
Some people want nice cars. We don't.
Right.
And I don't want to pay a lot for a car or other things, but trips are great, and I love going on trips, and we've never left a Disney trip feeling like we wasted money. No. It always feels worth it.
Yeah, it's a priority to us, and it's worth it to us. As far as budgeting, I would say that, again, this is
budgeting.
We're not budgeting for the trip.
To save for the trip.
Yeah. We're not Dave Ramsey over here. There's so many great YouTube channels and articles and websites that can help you with this. The way that we like to do it is that we have an allocated amount of money. We have a separate savings account for travel. We put money into that, and then when we want to go on a trip, we pull from that.
We also use Walt Disney World as a bank account, because when you put a payment down for Walt Disney World, you put $200 down. And you just put money into it, and it doesn't cost for you at the last minute to you have how far ahead can you pull all that money out if you can't go on the trip.
30 days. Not for a cruise, though. 30 days for Disney World.
Cruise costs money. But anyway, we like put our money into that because...
Right. Pretty much every month, we have a chunk of money that I put aside into a specific account that is for travel savings. When we have a Disney World or cruise or whatever trip on the books, instead of putting that money into that account, we have taken that money that's in the account to put the down payment down, and then we reroute that money and just pay off the trip. And so we usually book trips, I don't know, 6 to 9 months ahead of time, and then we pay them off well before we get there so that we're never going into debt to travel, and when we come home, and even when we're on the trip, everything's already been paid for, which is a really nice feeling. So that's the way we do it. That's going to be different for everyone.
That is nice. If
you could do it again, would you stay at a different hotel? I loved Coronado Springs.
Yeah. I would do it again and stay at a different hotel.
Yeah. If the question is, would we want to do this all over again and try a new hotel, then yeah. But I really enjoyed Coronado Springs a lot more than I expected to.
Yeah, it was so nice. Everything was new. It's like we were the first people staying there or something.
Yeah, Coronado Springs was great. All right, so many questions because I was pregnant on this trip about pregnancy and how I was feeling and how I was doing and whether it affected me and whether I could ride the rides and like all these pregnancy questions. The long and short of it is I did really well. I got more tired, I would say, more quickly, right? And we took a lot of breaks for water and things like that. But like, I don't feel like it heavily impacted the trip or negatively impacted the trip at all. Do you?
No. You got a lot better all of a sudden when we got to Disney. It was strange how that happened. It felt so good.
The Disney magic just hit me, and I seriously did. It was like crazy.
I know.
It was like a couple of days before we left for the trip, my nausea really started to subside, and then we got to Disney, and I felt great.
Funny how that happens.
The cure for everything. But yeah, I was completely fine. As far as rides, I mean, they're like the obvious things, like any of the mountains, Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, you know, big roller coasters, basically. Of course, I wasn't going to get on those, but I rode a lot.
Yeah.
There you can easily, if you search, what can I ride pregnant in Walt Disney World, which is what I did, there are lists. And you can still ride most things.
Yeah.
We rode everything.
Did I go on anything alone?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, we had a great time. It depends on each woman. Each woman's pregnancy is different. By that point, my nausea, like I said, had subsided. My belly wasn't very big. I wasn't feeling like that heavily pregnant at all. And so we totally enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, we went on everything we wanted to.
We rode everything we wanted to. Like I said, we always take breaks in Disney, pregnant or not. And so we took some breaks, drank a lot of water. We didn't stay out very late. That would be the one big difference.
Well, and we had gone to Disney already this year, so we had ridden all the big rides recently, so we didn't.
A couple of questions we got this last time too. Did it seem like there were kids everywhere on the ship? I worry about that. Is it overwhelmed with kids? Questions about the Disney cruise and kids. What's your take on that?
I don't know. I don't notice any of that.
No.
I don't really notice anything, so I don't really pay attention a whole lot. We were already at Disney World, and Disney World's full of kids, of course, so you're just used to it. And then the cruise, all the kids are kind of doing kid stuff. So they're all in the little kid pool. They're in the kid
section.
So
in the kids clubs.
I was not feeling like that.
I've heard from people, we have only cruised Disney, but I've heard from people who have cruised other cruise lines that they feel like they see the kids less on Disney cruise lines because like it feels like there are less children on a Disney cruise than other types of cruises, which is hilarious because Disney is obviously such a family-oriented cruise line, because the Disney kids clubs and programming are so stellar and outstanding that the kids all want to be in the kids clubs all day long. I do not feel like the ship is overrun with kids at all.
No, there's a huge adult-only section with the adult-only pools and places to eat and nightlife and stuff, so you can escape it.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, and that's what we did. Like, we would go to the adult-only section, and that's where we would, lay out in the sun. That's where we would swim, get drinks. Obviously, I wasn't drinking any alcohol, but, you could just be there.
Yeah, we used that a lot this time. We didn't really do that last time.
Because the weather wasn't nice.
Right. Yeah, and then you go to Castaway Cay, and there's a huge adult-only section there.
And it's, heavenly. I mean, that depends on your tolerance for kids. We both really like kids, clearly are not bothered by being around kids, but I genuinely do not feel at all like the ship is overrun with children and like you're in some kind of daycare. I don't feel like that at all,
No.
Personally. But, you know.
And there's adult-only restaurants, like Palo.
Yeah, and there's adult-only restaurants, so there's so many experiences. You did a beer tasting, clearly that's adults-only, all kinds of stuff.
That was great.
Someone asked, why do you book cruises out of Florida instead of Galveston? Well, we've only done 2, and the first one we were at a wedding in Florida, and so we decided to go to the wedding and then drive like an hour north to Port Canaveral, so it worked out because we were already in Florida, and this trip we wanted to do land and sea, and obviously Galveston doesn't have Walt Disney World, so that's why.
Yeah. We eventually will definitely go to Galveston.
Yeah, that would be great, especially with when our little girl comes, because we don't have to fly, then we could just drive down.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice and easy. Several people asked, like, several people asked, of the things on the cruise that are not included with the base price, what is, in our opinion, worth it?
Eating at Remy or Palo, because we'll never go to cruise.
We love food also.
Yeah.
Like, we love to eat. We love it. So if that would not be your thing and you would rather go on like a fishing trip on, you know, Castaway Key or in Nassau or something like that, like, you have to know your family and your family's preferences. If you're asking us, which you are, the answer would be probably food related, because Palo and Remy are just like amazing, superb.
And the only time I ever feel like maybe the cruise ship is possibly feeling a little overrun with kids is at dinner time, because there are kids eating all around
Half the
you.
ship is with you.
Yeah, that's the only time you see where they shove everybody in together. You're not shoved in it. It's still great. But getting a dinner separate from the rest of the ship, and a longer dinner too, you don't feel as rushed as you do maybe in like the other restaurants. So yeah, we do love food. I would not miss that. And all the ships have different restaurants, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So try all of those out.
You could try different. Well, Palo and Remy are pretty standard, but anyway, the other piece of this puzzle is that we live in a small town where there is no fine dining.
Mm-mm.
Like, there are 0 fine dining restaurants here. So for us to go out somewhere where it is a nice restaurant, multiple courses, all of that is very special and something that we do on birthdays and anniversary and things like that. So for us to be able to do that on vacation is very special. If you live in a major metropolitan city and you go out all the time, you might enjoy something else. So I don't know. It's impossible to say, but from our perspective, we absolutely loved doing those extra dining experiences.
I definitely would add. I mean, there's so many things. You could take that mixology class or the beer tasting. Any of those little added extra things are so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you did the beer tasting and really enjoyed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, is it worth going pregnant? Did you still have fun? Yes, definitely still had fun. Someone asked, would we consider taking the baby one day?
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk about that literally every single day.
Talked about that last night for about an hour. Yeah. What we're gonna do next year with the baby. So.
How we're gonna get the baby to Disney, how often, when, where we're gonna stay.
How many times are we gonna go next year with the baby, basically?
Yes. It's like our favorite thing, so of course we're gonna take her. And I don't want to hear anything about she's not gonna remember it. We will remember it.
I don't care what the kid remembers.
Whoa.
She'll be fine.
She'll eventually remember it. We're not gonna just stop going.
Cares?
This one's about Disney World, and she asks, are the dessert parties worth the money? For example, the Star Wars dessert party.
Yeah. And we didn't even get to see the Star Wars show.
I know.
And it was still worth it because we got to meet Kylo Ren. Like, they kind of like did a little special thing where they pulled us aside and they were like, Kylo wants to meet you.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh. And that was, so we walked right in and he was there and he was like talking to us and like walking around us and freaking us out.
And BB-8.
Awesome. And the food was amazing. And I'm sure the show would have been great, but we got to see Fantasmic.
Mm-hmm. Which was great.
And we got to hang out with Shannon.
Yeah, Shannon Albert from WDW Prep School, which I was talking about earlier. We hung out with her and her assistant Heather all night. It was really, really fun.
And they were fun. I mean, it would have been fun without them, but that was a lot of fun.
That added to the fun for sure. A lot of questions about length of stay. How long? There are some people asking, if I'm just going to Disney World, how long should I book my trip for? Then there are a bunch of people who are asking, if I do land and sea, how long of a cruise should I do and how long of a land should I do? I really liked what we did. I felt like that was a great length of time. We flew to Disney World on a Friday morning for this land and sea trip, and we were there. We flew and got to Orlando at like 9 a.m., so we were up very, very early. We had all day in Disney on Friday, all day in Disney on Saturday, all day in Disney on Sunday, half the day in Disney on Monday, and then Monday afternoon we boarded the ship. So we had like 3.5 days in Walt Disney World, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we were on the ship. So 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I felt like that was a great length. I would totally repeat that. Like I felt like we had enough time. But you have to understand that this is coming from people who have been to Disney World. Like this was our 5th, 6th time together in the past few years. So we go relatively regularly. I mean, some people go way more than that, but we feel like we go regularly enough that we don't need to do everything. I would say, how long would you say for Walt Disney World only?
Well, the longest trip we took was like 7 days.
Either 8 days, 7 nights, or 7 days, 6 nights. I don't remember.
That trip was like the only trip where I was like, that was a good trip. And I wasn't like, I'm ready to go. But I was like, that was a long trip. I
think we went 8 days, 7 nights one time. I think that's what you're talking about. Since then, we've done 7 days, 6 nights. And that seems to be like the perfect amount of time for us.
You can do everything in that time.
You can do everything. You can be leisurely. You can take breaks. You can rest. It's relaxed. It's nice.
Yeah.
It depends. And it depends on how much you want to spend, where you want to stay. Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends on a variety, what you want to do. If you want to go do Universal for a couple of days, if you want to do the water parks, if you want to do a rest day and just go to Disney Springs, if you want to do something like NASA or something else in the Orlando area, it depends. But I think,
I would say our January trip, we kind of went on that trip to, like, the Grand Floridian was the point of that trip.
Yes.
We were there 5 days, 6 days.
No, it was 7 days, 6 nights.
That was perfect. Because the whole point of that trip was to be at the Grand Floridian a lot.
Yeah,
and
we did.
Experience it.
It was so fun. This woman says, my husband is a picky eater. Walt Disney World works out well. She put, Walt Disney World is thumbs up. How does the cruise compare? There's something for everyone.
Yeah. The buffet is massive, and they'll do anything for you. Any of those Disney people would, like, bend over backwards for you.
Yes. And I mentioned in one of our vlogs that although neither of us deal with food allergies or food sensitivities, and we don't follow a particular type of diet, that there were people all around us, seated at tables all around us, who had a variety of different food allergy sensitivities and preferences. Mm-hmm. And we watched our waitstaff go absolutely above and beyond, have the chef come out and speak with them and make sure that they felt like they were getting delicious meals that were suited to their palate or to their sensitivities or allergies or whatever. So, and I've heard that from so many people who deal with those things. I know one of our friends that we were speaking about earlier who went on her cruise in November is gluten intolerant, and so she's gluten-free, and she said that they were fantastic. Yeah. They're used to it. I mean, they're dealing with thousands of people all the time.
They've seen it all.
They've seen it all. All right, let's end on this question. I feel like we've gone over most of the hot button questions. This is really sweet. What are you most looking forward to for your daughter to experience at Disney?
All of the character meals with the princesses.
Like Cinderella's royal table.
Yeah, and the Bippity Boppity Boutique thing.
That's my answer.
Stuff.
Bippity Boppity Boutique is my answer.
And Haunted Mansion.
And of course, for him, Haunted Mansion. If you don't know what Bippity Boppity Boutique is, there are now multiple locations. The one that I would want to do is in Cinderella Castle, excuse me. And it's on the bottom floor, and you go in and they have a fairy godmother in training, and she will do your little girl's nails and like little light makeup, and they do their hair up, and they put like sparkles in their hair, and they can put on a princess costume, and they get pictures taken, and it's just like, it's so, so precious. I like see these little girls who have gone to Bippity Boppity Boutique in the parks, and it like melts my heart. I cannot wait to do that with her.
It's really cute.
When she's, I don't know, maybe 4 or something.
Yeah.
So cute. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And you want to do the character meal so she can meet all the characters.
Yeah. And I already love Disney World, but I'm sure taking a kid would be more fun because you get to do everything with them.
Yeah. I can't wait. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I also don't want this video to be too long. And these are the questions that we went over today were the ones that were most asked. And so hopefully this is helpful to you. Again, please make sure to check out the resources that I'm going to link in the more info bar below. And please make sure to go ahead and watch all of our Disney cruise and Disney World vlogs. Those are, I think, quite informative because you're following us through the day and you're kind of seeing how we're doing things and what we're enjoying and that. So that might help you as well. So that would be my recommendation if you're just starting to get involved in the planning process. If you need budgeting help, get a travel agent, then you can find out what different types of packages are available at what different price points, that kind of thing. I will leave all that linked below for your information. Yeah. Anyway, it's a Sunday afternoon now. We have a chicken roasting in the oven. We're going to go eat a delicious Sunday dinner, late lunch, early dinner. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was somewhat helpful to some of you. And I'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.